Hello everyone. In this presentation, the life and mission of Reverend Myung Moon Part 2 will continue now in Father's first course. And we have to realize, actually at this time, it's important to understand that Father came, he's born in Korea as the second coming of Christ, which was occupied by Japan. Korea was part of the Japanese Empire. In the same way, Jesus, when he came to Israel, that was part of the Roman Empire at that time. So very similar, circumstances. And Father's mission is to go beyond the stage of Jesus. So he has to marry. He has to realize the second blessing, realize an ideal family. And so he marries Seon Choi at that time. She was a prepared person. She was actually from a Christian foundation, for a Christian family, which were the chosen people of that time. She was a very special person. Even when she was 16 years old, she was imprisoned by the Japanese police because she refused to worship at the Shinto shrines that the Koreans were forced to do. She was a very strong person, and she was a true bride of Christ. She really was meant to be the true mother at that time. The elder member Chung Sik-yang, in 2009, he gave a summary of the situation. He explains, God's plan was that true father was to meet Jesus and inherit his mission in 1935. The next 10 years were preparation to begin his mission and to discover the truth, divine principle. In 1945, he married his first wife, Seon Choi. Then the building of Chung-il-guk, Kingdom of Heaven, would have started and be established in 7 years by 1953. At this time, Father was 33 years old, and rather than being crucified, he would have received a special crowning ceremony from heaven and Christianity. Chung Sik-yang, 2009. This is an amazing thing. This is the original course Father was meant to go through. The Kingdom of Heaven was meant to start in 1953 if all went well. And so we can see from this that Seon Choi was meant to be true mother. Father explains, if they had accepted me in those days, then who would have been mother? If Sunjim's mother, Seon Choi, Father's first wife, had been unable to take that position, who would have replaced her? In the original Chonseong-gyeong, page 1179. So very clearly, she was meant to be true mother at that time, and she was a very prepared person. She was a very strong person. She was prepared by God. That's why she would not tolerate any injustice, any unprincipled actions. She would not bow to the Shinto shrines. She was really prepared to be true mother, true father's wife. In 1946, Father's first son, Sunjim, was born on 1st of March. So as explained, the first course, Father, would have been smooth. The Kingdom of Heaven should have been already realized now from over 50 years or longer. But unfortunately, we need to look at the situation and what actually happened. Father's a true patriot. Father he joined the independence movement. He was severely tortured by the Japanese police, who wanted Father to give them the names of other members. But Father refused, so he was tortured still more, as a peace-loving global citizen, pages 80 to 83. If you read those pages in the book, you can see it was very severe. The Japanese police came to his house. He just recently married, and they just came and dragged him out of his house, and he went through really severe tortures, actually. And so Father proved to be a real true patriot, even at that young age. Now, of course, the first course, in this age, it's not just one person. We know at the time of Jesus, it was John the Baptist who represented all of Israel. But now this is a world level. The Christian ministers and the Korean Christian ministers were in the central position. And they laid that foundation of faith through the incredible suffering, keeping faith through the Japanese occupation. They kept their faith. But the foundation of substance should have been with the Christian ministers in the able position and the Korean Christians in the Cain position through that unity. And then the Christian ministers should have testified to true Father as the second coming of Christ. We know John the Baptist's case, he had a special revelation from God and he testified to it. We read here in John 1:31-34. I myself did not know him, but for this purpose I came baptizing with water, that he might be revealed to Israel. And John bore witness, I saw the Spirit descend from heaven like a dove, and it remained on him. I myself did not know him, but he who sent me to baptize with water said to me, He on whom you see the Spirit descend and remain, this is he who baptizes with the Holy Spirit, and I have seen and borne witness that this is the Son of God. So John the Baptist gave a great testimony, as we saw in the earlier lecture at that time, but we know also that he didn't live up to it. He didn't, even though he gave a great testimony about Jesus being the Messiah, he himself didn't follow Jesus, and he doubted Jesus in the end. And this caused his denial of being Elijah, and so on, was the main cause why the people rejected Jesus, and it led to his eventual death. So likewise, the Korean ministers, they may have received many revelations about true Father, but their mission was to testify to true Father. But unfortunately, they didn't. They rejected Father. They didn't believe he was the second coming of Christ. So this first course failed. So therefore, true Father himself had to take the position of the central person. It's similar to the course of Jesus. Similar to the course of Moses. The first course ended in failure almost immediately. The course of Jesus. First course ended in failure. John the Baptist failed, and then Jesus had to take up that mission himself through incredible trials. We had to confront Satan for the 40-day fast and temptations. True Father, likewise, he had to take up the mission as the central person of the age. But just the difficulties Jesus had, because when a person has to testify about himself, nobody wants to believe that person. And true Father was in exactly the same situation. He had to testify to the people about himself, that he is the second coming of Christ. So of course it was very difficult, just like it was for Jesus. So the Korean Christians rejected Father, and this led to the failure of this. So the second course extended, where God told Father to go to North Korea. As a quote, go across the 38th parallel, find the people of God who are in the north. I immediately crossed the 38th parallel and headed for Pyongyang as a global citizen, page 84. So God revealed to true Father to go to North Korea. So this is really the second course, a more difficult course. Just like Jesus had a more difficult course, once John the Baptist failed, now the Christian ministers failed, Father had to go a more harder course. And so this, the reality that True Father had to go through. It's a much longer course than it originally was. It was meant to be a very simple course. If all the Korean ministers accepted Father, they would have educated people, taught people that he is the second coming of Christ, and then likewise they would have sent missionaries around the world teaching that Father is the Messiah, and the kingdom of heaven could have come a very short time. But sadly that didn't happen, and a much longer course. So the next presentation will look at what happened when Father went to North Korea, what situations he was faced with. It caused him to end up in Hungnam concentration camp, and so on. So we'll continue this in the next presentation in part 3 of Father's mission. Thank you very much.